And I am not wanted here. Well, I walk the same roads you do, and you do not find me there. Oh, I haul a heavy burden.
Hi, my name is Doug Mars. I'm 51 years old, born in Pennsylvania. Folks moved out to Phoenix in '68. Grew up in the Valley, entered the service in '79, served until February of 2012. Always kind of had this dream of being a farmer. When before my folks left or came out to Arizona, they lived in Pennsylvania. Trying to re-engage or find my roots as a farmer. So about 6 months ago, I was considering getting some property up in Show Low and putting in a couple of greenhouses and growing vegetables for the 120 or so farms that were within 40 miles of the Show Low location I was looking at. And I just happened to kind of broaden my search a little bit, and I found this place here in Chandler. It's 4.5 acres, used to be a commercial nursery, has 9 greenhouses, a deep well, a building, not suitable for habitation, it turns out, and the other infrastructure needed, a couple of ponds, to grow vegetables, with hydroponics and aquaponics. So that was May. So, well, actually, that was probably April-ish. And then I came out in May and looked at it and decided to go for it. It already had the infrastructure that I would have had to put into place up in Show Low at great expense and labor and materials, etc. And this had it. I mean, it's dilapidated, run down, dirty, needs a lot of rehab and repair, but it's a lot less expensive to do that than to build it all from scratch. As they say in the business, it has great bones, which can be a euphemism for it's a serious fixer-upper. So, started leasing it on 1 June, and basically brought employees on 1 July, and they've done yeoman's work in that month. It's right now the 18th of July, so in a couple of weeks they've cleaned up a lot of the trash. They've got 1 greenhouse that's probably 50% ready for some cultivation, and the 2 guys that I hired, one's my younger brother Matthew and one is Craig Canali. And they're actually out picking up seasoned manure right now at a horse rescue here in the Valley. And it's going to take a lot of work. It's hot, it's dirty work, but the kind of the vision is to grow food locally and sustainably, using 90 to 95% less water. I mean, this is a very arid place. I mean, Phoenix is kind of the prototypical, quote, desert. Not much rain, even though it's the monsoon season. You get rain in different spots in the valley. You don't get it necessarily over the whole valley. Interesting factoid, this was probably 15 years ago. Phoenix uses 784,000 acre feet of water more than the aquifer is replenished every year. So trying to figure out ways to grow food with less water strikes me as probably a good thing in the long run, because almost 800,000 acre feet in the negative every year, that's not sustainable. At some point the aquifer gives up the ghost, the irrigation systems, and we are part of the Roosevelt Irrigation District, which is phenomenal. We can get 328,314 gallons of water for $7.38. Thank you, American taxpayers, which is phenomenal. But at some point, even that can become unsustainable if there isn't sufficient snowpack that melts into the watershed that makes up the Roosevelt Water District. If we make this viable economically and water-wise, and all the kind of factors that go into that, I'd like to expand it so it's not just one location. We only have 4.5 acres, and with the 9 greenhouses, I have probably an acre to an acre and a tenth, or maybe an acre and an eighth, inside the greenhouses. So the rest is open space. A couple of ponds take up probably another ½ acre-ish of the physical footprint, and then other buildings probably take up a ½ acre or so. So put in some paddocks at some point, have some grass-fed beef, put in some chicken tractors that we can move around the different paddocks and raise some chickens, semi-free-range chickens. I have 3 chickens now, but they're pretty scrawny, and I wouldn't necessarily advise anyone eating them because I don't know, I haven't tested them to see what kind of bacteria they have. But we'll do tilapia, chickens, grass-fed beef. Ideally, I'd like to set up an apiary, which is the apiary, which is the keeping of bees, like a structure that you build for your hives to try and assist in the. There's a big problem with bees in the U.S. right now with colony collapse disorder, thought to be caused by pesticides that have a substance called a nicotinoid. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly. They're not sure exactly why colony collapse is happening, but that's one of the suspected causal agents in the colony collapse. Without bees, you really don't have about 65% of the food supply. That's how much needs to be open pollinated. So at some point, I'd like to bring in some wounded warrior interns, guys that think they want to be farmers, and kind of knock the edges off to show them that it's not all glitz and glamour. You're basically dealing in the heat and the dirt and the dust, and but definitely want to stay away from any sort of kind of industrial scale commodity type growing, because the margins are just too tight. I don't have 1,000 acres. I have 4.5. Approached several chefs so we can function like the chef's kitchen garden, growing what the chef wants, when he wants it on his schedule. Trying to build cultivating schedules that so he knows, 35 days or 45 days from now I'm going to have rutabaga, or I'm going to have kale, or I'm going to have, whatever it is. So he knows he can build his master menu schedules, and we can support him in that regard. So we have to start growing things and show that we can grow quality produce on a timely manner, high quality, good quantity, sufficient quantities. So the first couple of turns of cultivation will be practice runs. The intent is to donate that to the local food bank, and got to do the proof of concept. Can't under-deliver. I don't want to over-promise. I want to under-promise and over-deliver, and that's how you get a reputation as someone that's reasonable to work with. The kind of interesting thing that I'd like to try and grow here is saffron. Saffron is the part of the crocus sativa flower, and it's the most expensive spice cultivated on the planet. Currently, the only place I could find it being cultivated in the United States is Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, by the Amish and the Dutch Mennonites. So I'd like to give it a try. Climatically and geographically, Phoenix kind of fits the bill for hot and dry summers. The crocus sativa is an interesting flower in that it blooms in the fall, and it needs a hot, dry, dormant period before it, to kind of set the plant and get it ready for when it does blossom. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. If you have any questions, let me know.